Hello, this is Patrick from XPression. I'd like to show you a new feature in XPression Maps 3.0 and higher, the ability to use HotSync folders to share assets. I'm working here in Inception, and you can see that I've got my XPression MOS plugin open, and I've got XPression Maps open, and I've created a map for where Lucas Oil Stadium is. I want to put this into my system, and I want to make it available for later, so I'm going to explain how I'm doing all of that. But first off, I'm going to do is I'm going to save this map. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to call this Lucas Oil Stadium, and I'm going to go to the description field just for the fun of it. I'm going to put something in here. The Indy Colts. Indy Colts play football, and I'm going to click Save. Now, the next thing I do is what I traditionally do. I'm going to grab that workflow tool, which is the barcode, and I'm going to drag that into my XPression template. And you'll see that asset will pop up down in the bottom screen. Now, the great part is here, this is now part of my graphic, and this will go into the control room once I add the story, or the map graphic into the story. It'll show up in my MOS rundown. So let's do that quickly. So I'm going to add that to my story, and then click Approve, and then Save. So that's now published into the control room. But what I also want to show you, if I click on Open Map, Open MAM, and then click on Streamline, what I want you to notice is that map is now in my Streamline server. And the way that got there is using HotSync folders. So first, let's go set that up so we can see how this works on the XPression Map side. And after that, we'll go see how we set this up on the Streamline side. Okay, we're on the XPression Maps server now, and we've asked our newsroom not to make any maps for a little bit, so that'll disconnect us otherwise. I'm going to go up to File, Preferences, and when I get to the Preferences menu, I'm going to choose Web Interface. And this is where the configuration for connecting your XPression Maps server to your MOS newsroom, your XPression Maps MOS Workflow, and everything else is put together, and how that's all set up. And down in the Output section with version 3 and higher of XPression Maps, there's now a new input field and a checkbox. This checkbox is Clip Copy to Hot Folder, and then a spot where you can designate the hot folder location. And what a hot folder is it's a Windows tool where you can put something into a folder, and whatever computer that's connected to it will monitor that particular folder at a regularly scheduled interval, and we'll show you how we're going to set that up. So what we've done here is we've decided we're going to put this into Streamline, and my Streamline server's name is Apex MAM. So on the network computer, Apex MAM, we've created a folder called watch_folders, and in there we've created a subfolder called maps_import, and we've given the proper user rights management so that we can work with this. And what this allows the systems to do is files that are created by XPression Maps are automatically copied from the Maps server into this HotSync folder or watch folder that's on the Streamline server, and then from the Streamline server it automatically ingests that file into the Streamline system and shows it to all the users on Streamline. So now let's go take a look at how that configures over on the Streamline server. Okay, now we're in our Streamline server, and we're using an administrative login, so we have access to pretty much the whole system. I'm going to go up to the toolbar and click on the configuration icon, which is the gear up top. And we want to do a couple things in here. We want to go ahead and configure a mapping profile, set up a watch folder process, and then link them. So I'm going to go into the metadata tab here, and I'm going to choose mapping profile. I'm going to show you what my mapping profile looks like just so you can see it, and then we'll go backwards and show you how we play with them. This is how I built mine. I named it, and again, what you notice when I put the name in here, it automatically takes out illegal characters. A space is an illegal character. I also, if you remember in my Streamline system, when I showed you in the Maps interface, or the XPression MOS interface, I had a subfolder there called XPression Maps. So what I've done is I put that same thing here so that I know where these are going to go, and I've put this in here, maps created by XPression MOS users at Apex News, and Apex News is my particular TV station. And down at the bottom, I've told that I want to inherit the metadata mapping profile from the default system so that I can make some modifications. I'm going to click Save on that. Now, let's go back and look at my XPression Maps, and I'm going to click on Manage Mappings, in which you can see here I have some information that I've put across, and I want you to notice I have name, event, type, all these different settings. And you see over on the far right side, it's from the category XMP. And let's talk about that. I'm going to go over to the property set here, and I'm going to click on XPression Maps properties and show you how we built this property set, which is part of the mapping profile. I'm going to go and upload a file, and I'm just going to go and find that same map file that I made. That's the Lucas Oil Stadium. Ignore the file name. That's what we call a GUID. In other words, if you really look at it, that's the date and time I created that particular file is what the file name is. Now, what you'll see here, now there's a whole bunch of information about this file. You can see there's file sizes, durations, everything else here. And there's going to be some duplicates, and I know that. But if I scroll through this and get past the regular file information that you would see, there's a section here called XMP. And you can see that by the category names. And what you'll find is I have all kinds of information. I can see which safe title structure I've used and everything else that goes on here, and I can add all those pieces in. Remember when I put the little note in there for the scene description where the Indy Colts play football? I picked a scene that I was going to use, or what I called it, I should say, and I called it Lucas Oil Stadium, which was the name of the file that I put in. You can see that it has my username. You can see LLN, I have a couple things in here, LLN Colorado Street Level. That was the template name. So now that we see all that, let's go back over to the mapping profile, and let's take a look at what's in here. What I've done is I've picked the core features that show up in my Streamline Asset Management System. So I've got a field called name, and what I wanted that to be was the scene name, or what it is that I called the file, so that other people can find it. I wanted the event to be populated with the template name, or the XPression Maps MOS Workflow tool template name, so that somebody's trying to find it by that particular structure. I took the scene type so that we know what that is. The username comes up under creator, so if you're looking for something that I created, it's easier to find it. I also put the same thing under user rights or rights. The user instructions are what I had as far as I entered, for example, where the Indy Colts play football. And then template description is the description that's in the XPression Maps server for that particular template. So you see all those pieces. Once I put all that together, that's great. The way that I do all this, I click create. So I'm going to come in here and select an attribute that I want to use. And what you'll notice, ones that have already been used in this particular mapping profile are highlighted in gray. So I'm going to come in here and choose one that hasn't been. I'm going to choose editorial instructions. The next thing I'm going to do is choose a property set, and I'm going to choose a property set from XPression Maps. And what I'm looking for is under the XMP, because that's where I put all these file information header pieces in metadata. And scrolling down here, you're going to see XMP down at the bottom. I'm looking for something like, for example, safe title name, and that'll tell me how I would anticipate somebody using this in the newsroom. So when I put that together, I'm going to put the safe title name into the column for editorial instructions and click Save. And now you can see that I've got that information there. And I want you to pay attention. Remember when I put all this together, this is already done because this was done earlier. But you can see here under name, Lucas Oil Stadium, that's what I called it. Under description, LLN Street Level Still Maps, that's the template I used for XPression Maps. And usage instructions, where the Indy Colts play football. By the way, rights, it's got my name because that's the column I put it into. Editorial instructions, the next one I put in will have this information because I haven't done a new one imported. And again, event, I get to see the XPression template that I used, so that I can, the XPression Maps template that I used, so that I can find this, because this makes it easy for somebody to search. For example, if I search for Colts now, I will find down to that one map. Now, the last thing we need to configure is the watch folder setup on Streamline. So I'm going to go back to the configuration tool, and I'm going to choose the asset functions, and over on the far right is watch folders. And I have one set up. You could just click add, but I'm going to show you what I have here. So instead of add, I'm going to edit the one I've got. I have a watch folder, and my choices are a couple of different things here. All we really care about right now is a watch folder. And my shared folder on my network is maps_import. So that's what I'm going to enter in here. My polling interval is in milliseconds, so I put 1,000 in there, which basically means every 10 seconds it'll monitor that folder to see if there's a new file. I'm going to let it do all file types, so I didn't put any specific file extensions here, so it'll take everything. The ingest strategy is to create a new asset, meaning it will put a new asset into the Streamline server. And my mapping profile that I've created is XPression Maps. Remember, we just did that a couple minutes ago. And then the default destination, I'm going to use default. And I click Save. And then I'll click OK. So now we've got the whole thing set up for mapping. We've got the metadata set up, and we now have the watch folder structure set up and organized. Now anything putting in that watch folder will now implement itself and be imported into the XPression Maps folder on my Streamline system. All right, we're back in the newsroom, and let's pretend that we're somebody who wants to create a graphic that's using a map that's showing where the Lucas Oil Stadium is. I have two choices. I can go and create something new, or I can see if something already exists. The existing assets are stored in our asset management system, which is Streamline. So I can come over here and I can tell it I want to do a global search, and I want to look for something for Lucas. And look at that, there's Lucas Oil Stadium. If I want to look at the list, I can see all the information there. I can see all that's there and go, oh, that's what I want. I can take it, drag it in, and repurpose that. So what I now have done is I've created a high efficiency workflow where I can do things faster by repurposing content and maintain station branding and keep my station on air and make a high impact on what my viewers are watching quickly and efficiently.